Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this morning. Thank you for this freedom and this chance we have to spend time in your word, to study it, to talk about it with each other. Bless our conversations, keep them faithful, and help us to leave this place with a better understanding than we walked in. In your son's name we pray. All right, so we'll start. Just open the floor. Any questions, comments, concerns about church, about devotions, sermons, something you've heard on the radio? Anything you want Pastor Josh to try and deal with? Terry, you look like you're thinking of something. Something that's going to get me in trouble, but it looks like you're thinking of something.
The hamster fell off the wheels.
That's the story of my life. Oh, I bet there's a t-shirt for that. Just a hamster running in circles and the wheels over here. I think I've told you guys about this. The favorite shirt, so you see a lot of interesting shirts at the gym, because you get to see the kind of shirts that people are like, I'm going to go and this is what I'm going to work out in. And there's this one lady who comes in and it's just like a t-shirt, but the print is just the best. It's the funniest thing I think I've ever seen on a t-shirt. It's a goose in like a three-piece suit and with glasses on in like one of those big comfy reading chairs next to the fire. And the caption is, "Silly goose in this economy." I love it. I love that shirt. Bob also thinks that shirt.
Josh, we was talking to my son this morning, and we said we had to hang on. He was calling from Argentina. We were going off to a Bible study, spend some time with Pastor Josh. And my son said, "Oh, I like that guy. He's my kind of nerd."
I will take it.
Is he listening right now? Is he listening right now?
It's one of my favorite shirts. Casey Colwell gave it to me. It has a raccoon roasting a marshmallow over a dumpster that's on fire. It says, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine." I'm like, oh. Great picture of what's going on. All right. If there are no questions or anything, we can hop right into Genesis 29.
This has got to be here first.
Yeah. Well, it's never funny.
It's not. It's 17 after.
Okay. I'm good.
Oh, wait. Right?
Yes.
My bookmark's in the wrong place. All right. Everybody ready to read about some more just stellar, upstanding family dynamics? Here we go.
Yeah.
Genesis 29. This is how you met your spouse? Don't tell me. Then Jacob went on his journey and came to the land of the people of the east. As he looked, he saw a well in the field, and behold, 3 flocks of sheep lying beside it. Out of that well the flocks were watered. The stone on the well's mouth was large, and when all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone from the mouth of the well and water the sheep, and put the stone back in its place over the mouth of the well. Jacob said to them, "My brothers, where do you come from?" They said, "We are from Haran." He said to them, "Do you know Laban, the son of Nahor?" They said, "We know him." He said to them, "Is it well with him?" They said, "It is well. And see, Rachel his daughter is coming with the sheep." He said, "Behold, it is still high day, and it is not time for the livestock to be gathered together. Water the sheep and go pasture them." But they said, "We cannot until all the flocks are gathered together and the stone is rolled from the mouth of the well. Then we water the sheep." While he was still speaking to them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. Now as soon as Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban his mother's brother, Jacob came near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban his mother's brother. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and wept aloud. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's kinsman and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. As soon as Laban heard the news about Jacob, his sister's son, he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Jacob told Laban all these things, and Laban said to him, "Surely you are my bone and my flesh." And he stayed with him a month. Then Laban said to Jacob, "Because you are my kinsman, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me, what shall your wages be?" Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful in form and appearance. Jacob loved Rachel. And he said, "I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel." Laban said, "It is better that I give her to you than I should give her to any other man. Stay with me." So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, but they seemed to him but a few days because of the love he had for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife, that I may go into her, for my time is completed." So Laban gathered together all the people of the place and made a feast. But in the evening he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob, and he went into her. Laban gave his female servant Zilpah to his daughter Leah to be her servant. And in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And Jacob said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? Did I not serve with you for Rachel? Why then have you deceived me?" Laban said, "It is not so done in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Complete the week of this one, and we will give you the other also in return for serving me another 7 years." Jacob did so, and completed her week. Then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. Laban gave his female servant Bilhah to his daughter Rachel to be her servant. So Jacob went in to Rachel also, and he loved Rachel more than Leah, and served Laban for another 7 years. All right. That just ain't right. All right, I'll give you guys a couple minutes. We'll say 3 minutes at your tables. Just what do we want to talk about first? What questions do you have? What stands out? Stuff like that.
What was he blind? Did he not see?
See, yeah,
I've
heard this so many times.
Blind,
I always
drunk.
thought he didn't get Rachel for another 7 years. But here it says, he got her next week.
I have a blind friend. You got a blind
Yes,
friend.
yes.
But
So
my
he
dad
still
was
had-
an alcoholic, so we
he-
always made
he
a
still
joke
had to
that
work,
he was
but
drinking
he
alcohol,
already
instead
had
of being blind drunk, he would get
Right.
blind second.
I never, I read this.
I should check in on blind friends. I wonder how
Yeah. So the note here says, after the week was over, Jacob married Rachel. He did not have to wait another 7 years, and it was now.
Well, I'm sure it was dark, but still would have figured he'd notice the difference.
The questions about the we're done with that.
Well, yeah, I guess that would be.
Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
Hopefully it's not like we lost Texas.
Well, you know, there's still yeah. And trying to stay away. Yeah. First I was surprised that Rachel was.
First points always have a rub.
Yeah.
First points always have a rub.
The wedding feast, she's 7 days long.
I always wondered if it'd be like any farm, if that's what your dad did. You're probably doing it too. That's interesting. So, yeah.
And he got straight.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I blame his mother for his, yeah, in the beginning.
Yeah.
Who got tricked off? Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he made it look like he came back
He
on.
tricked Esau.
Right.
And Laban tricked him. But,
Watch yourself.
you know, it probably was true that the older would be married first.
Yeah.
But I think it would be, they would, you guys would have, it wasn't really a good precedent. Yeah, right.
We got a lot of chicken.
Yeah.
She did like his children.
Yeah.
His children. And I don't think it's something he did.
Yeah. I hate to think about that.
Not even having a child.
There's no mention of here that he Okay, here's my question.
So,
How do you get one person to six? Zero conversation, zero.
They had to do with the Facebook.
Obviously,
It's 60,
but
you know?
it's really that line in the morning, you sleep. I mean, my goodness.
Oh, wait a minute, you're not Rachel.
Too late. I thought we were on 30, I went ahead and read that, but somewhere in here it says, religion, Jesus, and person. Really?
Right.
Yeah. She was.
Yeah, they had children, 5. Yeah.
It wasn't,
yeah.
it wasn't Rachel's fault.
And those were included in,
He did that,
his sons.
but she paid for it too, didn't she? Because now
Well, it is,
there's
yeah.
always Jackson and Cotton.
I think very well.
Yeah.
Families are.
Yeah.
I don't know. Families that are happy.
You don't think it has story, story,
Oh, my.
story.
I don't mean so much, I mean my siblings.
I think every family has some form of.
Oh, yeah.
It was, you know, singing, it's supposed to be fun.
Yes, you're awfully quiet.
All right.
Oh, too bad.
Nope. Well, Bob, go ahead.
You get to start off.
I was just looking at the rules and regulations of watering the sheep. There was a real order there, and I suppose it was because of what, the shortage of water. The water wasn't really plentiful. That they all the sheep had to be gathered, all that drank out of that well, so they all got equal turn.
I guess. Well, it also sounds like it usually took more than one guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wonder if they waited till everyone was together so that like one guy with his flock wouldn't come over and be like, well, I can't actually water the sheep because I can't move it on my own. There's in the Lutheran Site Bible, there's a note, Jacob must have had amazing strength. And that's not, what I've read so far about Jacob is that he wasn't that guy. That I guess he was trying to show up for Rachel. Like, oh, there's a girl here now. Ooh!
Well, Jacob probably, he had an entourage that came with him, right? He wasn't on his own.
Yeah,
He was-
at least servants.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of flexing. I have a guy for that. What else stands out?
Why didn't Jacob know it was Leah?
I suspect alcohol had something to do with why Jacob didn't know it was Leah.
That's a good.
Well, and I mean, maybe in a more charitable way, the other things I think of are like over those 7 years, because as far as I understand it, in ancient Middle Eastern culture, there was much more of a separation of men and women. So there's a little bit of like, did you really get to see Rachel a lot over those 7 years? So in the dark, with a little bit of alcohol involved, or a lot of bit of alcohol involved, like, is it a more, because if you see someone every day, even in the dark, you're like, okay, I know you're not that person. But if you see them very sporadically over 7, and like, this is the first time, the well story is the first time that Jacob meets her. So it's not like they grew up together or something. So I guess that makes it a little bit more understandable, but if I was a betting man, I'd bet that alcohol was mostly the reason for that. Confusion. Because it was a feast after all.
Well, something that, I've read this many times before, but I never really heard this. I didn't realize that Jacob and Rachel married the next week. I wait 7 years.
No, I think, I'm guessing that was a concession for
Yeah.
Laban switching the flip on it. I don't know if guilt was the right thing. I think Laban's like, I need to get him to actually stick around. And if I make him wait, he's just gonna be like, no.
Well, the note in this Bible too, says, in verse 21 says, then Jacob said to Laban, give me my wife. My time is completed and I want to lie with her. But the note says, my wife. If Jacob had said Rachel, Laban would have had no excuse for giving him Leah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
interesting.
gonna go ahead and jump a little bit forward in my notes here because Laban is exploiting Jacob. He exploits his eagerness for that exact thing. He's like, his wife, he didn't say Rachel. So he gives what is presumably the less desirable daughter, like the daughter that in his eyes has quote unquote less market value. Not to say that she was just a commodity to be traded, but like that's what he's thinking of. He's like, who can I forge a connection with through marriage? Or how can I leverage that relation? Like that's how Laban's thinking about it. So he takes advantage of Jacob there. And then his eagerness, he's like, I'll give her to you for another 7 years. And because like that's where Jacob, and as I was reading the commentary that I was kind of focusing on points out that like Laban is manipulating Jacob in the same way that Jacob had manipulated Esau. So it's kind of like a getting his just desserts kind of thing. Yeah.
Karma.
Yep. So, I don't know what your guys' translations say, but just to note, so we're all understanding this, when it says Leah's eyes were weak, that doesn't necessarily mean her sight was bad. That means she was not easy on the eyes. And it's saying that she was less attractive than her younger sister. That is what that comment is saying. So Jacob wanted the hotter sister. Like that's what he was after. Which when it says he loved Rachel more, there's a little bit of like, okay, Jacob. Maybe it was for her personality.
So I think it's interesting that Jacob was the guy that deceived Esau. Okay, and now the tables were kind of turned on him.
Oh, how the turntables. Yeah.
And he didn't like it very much when he felt he was deceived.
No, he did not.
It was okay when he was doing it.
It's a very real illustration of treat others the way you want to be treated.
But he didn't have, or at least it doesn't say he had that aha moment, oh, this is what I did to Esau.
That doesn't track.
But was his mother really behind it and not, I don't know, you made a comment last time about Jacob maybe not being such a good guy or something. I don't know, I thought it was the mom's fault, dressing him up. And
I mean, I'm not going to say she's innocent in the whole thing. That is for sure. But at some point, like at this point, Jacob is an adult.
so you knew it was.
So we actually, I think we had a little bit of this conversation maybe on Tuesday morning or our Tuesday morning Bible class. It's very popular maybe it was Sunday. It's very popular right now to like put all your problems on your parents.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you go to a therapist, again, not to disparage the tradition or the profession of counseling or therapy, it is really helpful in some situations, but a lot of times they're going to say, oh, well, it's all your parents' fault. It's like, did they maybe model something that you have to overcome? Maybe. Did they do something that you're trying to work through? Maybe. Once you are old enough to drink alcohol, it's not your fault, or it's not their fault anymore. Like you are an adult, and especially if you can think through it, and like you look back and you're like, oh, I see where I picked this up. You are officially self-aware enough to do better. So, at this point in Jacob's life, I'm not blaming his mom anymore. At this point, it's Jacob's fault. Is my a little bit of a soapbox for that one. Yeah. You don't get to blame your parents for your whole life. Except in like really rare circumstances where your parents are felons because of what they did to you, in which case you can hold on to that one. I'm okay with that. So just a question for you guys. What's the longest you've ever worked for something? Like you had a goal, or you had something you wanted to buy, or something you wanted to do, and you had to work toward it. What's the longest you ever remember thinking, I want that, and then having to work to get there? School?
7 years.
Not 7 years. So school, depending on the schooling, some of us were in school for a very long time.
I'm gonna say 7 years.
7 years?
Because that's how long before we had our first child. And some of it was my husband's decision, because you know how it's not time, it's not the right time, it's not the right time, it's not the right time. And then it took us a long time, so. I don't know that I actually worked for it, but I feel like I waited and barely.
Well, it was like Rachel, you worked after the fact. So 7 years, school, so traditional route through high school, that gives you 13 years of schooling. You go for a bachelor's degree, that's up to 17 years usually. Master's degree puts you at 21. For a doctorate, I was at 25 years. I'm done now. 25 years.
Well, did you get to, well, you said your doctorate, so was that a couple years?
That was the last 4 years.
Last 4 years.
Yeah. The pamphlet said you can finish this in 3 years. Not reasonably, you can't.
Well, probably not when you're working.
Well, and you have to get special permission to take classes that aggressively. So if any of you are going to go back and get your doctorate, don't leave the pamphlet. Don't take 4 years, not 3. Well, that's not true. For a lot of guys, it takes like 7, 8 years. In the world of academia, there's an initials for it. It's ADD, all but dissertation, because a lot of guys stall out once they have to do the dissertation. I was like, I want to finish this thing. I sped up once I started on the dissertation. I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm tired of paying you guys. What else? We got school, we have kids. What are some of the other things you've worked a long time for?
Retirement.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's gonna be more than 14.
Yeah.
It is more than 14, ain't that the truth? Trying to think. To buy a house? Not, I mean, probably not
Put the
14,
mortgage
but
in there?
that's a
Up to
lot.
30.
Oh, yeah, to finish the mortgage.
Saving for the down payment takes a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the interest rates were back when we bought our first houses.
Yeah. Well, it was 7.5% when we bought ours.
I think ours was 8 something.
It's actually about back up a lot. I think it's dropped a little bit. I've been meaning to check, because if I can refinance my rate lower, I'd obviously like to do that. But we bought from the builder, so the builder bought down our interest. I think our interest rate is 4.95. So
With private and everything.
between us girls and Bob, I don't know if I should record this either. I have more negative feelings about private. I need to remote, like, just relax out a little bit. Okay. I'm not happy with private because they used to be a Lutheran organization.
Right.
And then they were a Christian organization. And now they are
Financial.
just a financial
Yeah.
company. And like, there's nothing wrong with being a financial company, but they're kind of the embodiment of selling out your values for profit. And I don't love that. In fact, I actively don't like that. So Like when I do Thrive in Action teams, because I have life insurance with them, and you don't get to just like transfer that to another company. But like, so I'll do an action team, but I don't do the t-shirts anymore because I'm like, I don't really want to
Yeah,
represent
Michael puts
you
a
guys
cross on it.
anymore. That's
What did you
funny.
say, Steph?
I said, Michael, he puts on the drive-in t-shirts when he wears one, he puts.
He adds the cross to it. I like it.
Because they took the cross off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. LCEF, Texas CEF.
Yeah.
If I'm looking for financial stuff, either to them or just like a pure for-profit company, like Concordia Plans, which is the insurance for most churches in the LCMS. They use Fidelity. Fidelity is doing very well with my retirement right now. I check in every once in a while. I'm like, I think my retirement last I checked was up like 26%. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty nice. Oh, you guys go. You go. You do your thing.
They do all our stuff.
But that idea is good.
No. All right.
We sold all our Thrive stuff too, we transferred it all over to Fidelity. But
If I had anything that was transferable,
I do
I
like the
would.
shirts, they are so comfortable.
They actually, so fun fact, and also shameless plug, all of the Hope t-shirts that are listed on our website, back in the day when I would wear Thrive shirts all the time, because they make great workout shirts once you cut the sleeves off. I like looked into the company that makes the shirt they print up. It's Canva and Bella, Canva and Bella, or Canvas and Bella. You can get them at like Hobby Lobby, just like plain t-shirts if you want to print if you want to make your own. But all of our shirts that are on the church website, that are in the store on the church website, are Canva and Bella t-shirts. So if you want some Hope swag, they are pretty comfy shirts.
And C50 does come in handy then for doing.
Oh yeah, I'll shamelessly use the action teams, but yeah.
Yeah, it's sad as they went that way.
Yeah. Okay, going forward a little bit, Laban is he's almost portrayed as a disciplinary figure for Jacob, even though I forget which one of you guys at the back table said this, but I don't know if Jacob picked up on that, but Laban was doing to him, it's kind of a taste of his own medicine. And that clearly doesn't stop Jacob, because as we read in the next section, Jacob continues to try and be a little manipulative, be a little sneaky, but now at the well, as he's doing that, he's telling he comes in, he tells the shepherds their business, he moves the thing. It's an interesting contrast from the last time we talked about an interaction at the well when Abraham's servant went to get Isaac a wife, when he went to fetch Rebekah, because the servant came in as very humble, and his story is, I prayed for God for a sign, and these are the signs he gave me. I came looking for a wife for my master's son. It's a very humble approach. It's the approach of a supplicant. Jacob comes in on his high horse as almost, the word that I saw used was, he's approaching as a benefactor rather than a supplicant. And he's received differently, right? Because for Abraham's servant, the response is, yes, go and take Rebekah, and it's viewed as like, we're happy to do this. And with Jacob, it's like, well, you can work for her. So this isn't the point. This isn't the point of Jacob and Rachel and Leah. This isn't the point. But a lesson we can learn from this is your approach matters, and humility could help you out a lot. And I'm sure you guys have experienced this at different points in your life, or at least observed it. If you go in to a store and you need something, like you need customer service, if you come in swaggering in and thinking you're all important and talking down to the employee, you're not gonna get what you need. And if you do, it's gonna be malicious compliance all the way. But if you come with kindness and humility and say, hey, I don't want to bother you, I don't want to make your day harder, but like I need this to happen. Most of the time, they're very quick to step in and help and try and figure out what they can do. Again, that's not, I think, the primary lesson here. But that is a lesson we can learn from comparing these two different approaches. Because one, he was sent off with blessings. Here's Rebecca. The other, 14 years of labor, you can work for these wives of yours. So, yeah, I'm going to skip that now because that's not a reference anyone's going to get with me. It's a pop culture reference, not a biblical reference. Just to play around. I'm just curious, has anyone seen the TV show Nikita? Well, and it was, so Nikita is a TV show for a long time. I was almost afraid to watch because the thumbnail on it is a very scantily clad lady. So I was like, that's probably a fairly inappropriate show. But I think I was with a friend and they're like, no, it's not that. You should. So I turn on the first episode. Believe it or not, all of the women in the show itself are all like very well practically dressed. Almost the whole time. I mean, occasionally, they'll go to the beach or something anyway. But it's like a spy thriller show. There's this girl in this black ops government organization that had gone rogue and was doing like hits for money, but she escapes and then she's trying to take, it's an excellent show. But anyway, so if you're bored and you're looking for a show that has the second worst character ever to be seen on television. I watch TV with my brothers, and with that particular character, every single episode we're like, man, I really hope this episode. Every single one. The only one that's worse, if you've ever seen Game of Thrones, Joffrey in Game of Thrones, every single episode we were like, oh, I hope that guy dies. He's the worst. So these are my thoughts on the worst characters on television. Enjoy. SpongeBob is also somewhere on that list for anyone who's curious. My dad, no, you don't. I haven't really seen much SpongeBob. We weren't allowed to watch SpongeBob as kids. We were told as kids it'll rot your brain, which is probably also true. But once we were adults, Dad told us the real reason we weren't allowed to watch SpongeBob. It's because Dad didn't want to have to hear that laugh of SpongeBob because it's so grating and annoying. He's like, no, not in my house. Okay, going forward, we talked about how Laban kind of is exploiting Jacob, and then it is a little interesting, and this kind of opens up a conversation about the development of, we'll say, biblical ethics in Leviticus. So later than Genesis, obviously, as the legal code of Israel is being established. This kind of relationship between sisters is explicitly forbidden. So it's actually a similar conversation as we've had a couple times with polygamy. It's like, is it wrong? Should you do it? Leviticus says no. And you say, well, why then was this the way that Jacob went? First of all, I don't think we should look at this and say, like, this is a sanctified route. I think this is, like, Jacob and Laban are both doing things in a way that they shouldn't. So there's that to start with. But there is the reality that this particular, we'll call it a branch of ethics, adapts as the world allows it to. So like if Adam and Eve had received the law about, no incest, well, humanity's done. Right? Like, we're done. There's nothing. We're done. But as the world allowed for that to not be allowed, that's when God's like, okay, this was the plan, this is the rule now, don't do this anymore. So, call it an evolution of, or maybe a better way to phrase it is a gradual revelation of what it is to be righteous. Which is really consistent with how the Bible does things. Here in Genesis, we get a lot of broad strokes about who God is, what his plan is, what his what his designs for our morals and our ethics are. And then as we get into Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, we get more of an image of that. As we walk through the Old Testament, we get to understand more and more and more about who God is until Jesus comes, and then we get the best picture of who God is. And even in Jesus' ministry, most notably on the Sermon on the Mount, we get also the fullest revelation of what righteousness is supposed to look like. So this whole idea of kind of a gradual revelation is pretty consistent with how God handles his relationship with us in general. So, yeah. Anything else on Jacob and Rachel and Leah? Because we're going to read more about them. Okay, I'm going to read through this next section because I think we can actually make it. Anyway, so buckle up for some names. Genesis 30, starting at verse 25. As soon as Rachel had born Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away that I might go to my..." Oh, wait, no. Sorry. Genesis 29, verse 31. We got there. When the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren, and Leah conceived and bore a son. And she called his name Reuben, for she said, "Because the Lord has looked upon my affliction, for now my husband will love me." She conceived again, bore a son, said, "Because the Lord has heard that I am hated, he has given me this son also." And she called his name Simeon. Again she conceived and bore a son, and said, "Now this time my husband will be attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore his name is called Levi." And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, "This time I will praise the Lord." Therefore she called his name Judah. Then she ceased bearing. When Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, she envied her sister. She said, "Jacob, give me children, or I shall die." Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in a place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" She said, "Here is my servant Bilhah. Go unto her, that she may give birth on my behalf, that I may even have children through her." So she gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob went into her. And Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Jacob said, "God has judged me, and has also heard my voice and given me a son." Therefore she called his name Dan. Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, "With mighty wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister and have prevailed." So she called his name Naphtali. Then Leah saw that she had ceased bearing children. She took her servant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as wife. And Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. And Leah said, "Good fortune has come." So she called his name Gad. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. And Leah said, "Happy am I, for women have called me happy." So she called his name Asher. She doesn't sound happy, honestly. But in the days of the wheat harvest, Reuben went in and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But she said to her, "Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you also take away my son's mandrakes?" Rachel said, "Then he may lie with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." When Jacob came from the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come in to me, for I have hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he lay with her that night. And God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a 5th son. Leah said, "God has given me my wages, because I gave my servant to my husband." So she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and she bore Jacob a 6th son. And Leah said, "God has endowed me with a good endowment. Now my husband will honor me, because I have borne him 6 sons." So she called his name Zebulun. Afterwards she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb. She conceived and bore a son, and said, "God has taken away my reproach." And she called his name Joseph, saying, "May the Lord add to me another son." All right. Nice, quick, and clean family dynamics here. Okay, so I'm just going to chart this out for you quick. So we have Reuben, the firstborn. His name, pretty literally translated, is "see a son." And then you have Simeon, whose name is "heard." Like, that's how it's translated. And if you look in the narrative, like this is tracking, this is what she's saying. Levi is attached, Dan is judged. Naphtali is wrestling. So we have these first three are Leah, and then these next two are Bilhah, which remember is the servant, and this is Rachel's. So while they are Bilhah's sons, they are attributed to Rachel. I don't know how she felt about that. I imagine they didn't really care what she thought about it, but then we have Gad. Oh, this marker is dying. Sally told me to. So we have Gad, who's good fortune. Like, I mean, you read through this, these are so literal. These are very on-the-nose names. I'm going to run out of room. They should have had fewer kids, so my board would be less full. And these are Zilpah's, who is Leah's servant, because Leah looked at this and said, I'm going to keep up with this game. Okay? All right. Finished with Asher, right? So now we have Issachar, who literally means wages. It's not a super fortunate name. Can you imagine? Well, I guess we have this today. You're a kid and your name is Bill. And then we have Zebulun, honor. And these are again Leah. And then you have Joseph. May he add. And this is, we'll say, Rachel's only true-born son. For now. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 sons. You might say, aren't there 12 tribes of Israel? Yes. Yes, there are. So what is not included in this specific narrative, but added on later, you have Benjamin, who is Rachel's other son, Rachel's younger son. And you'll remember in Exodus, or at the end of Genesis, and we'll get there, when Joseph is in Egypt and his brothers come to him, Benjamin is the one Joseph is concerned about, in part because they were the only full brothers. Everyone else was a half brother. They were full brothers, okay? You might say, but that's only 11. Where's the other tribe of Israel? Joseph doesn't get a tribe. Joseph has 2 sons who are then 2 tribes of Israel. Does this math make sense? So 11 of Jacob's 12 sons are patriarchs of their tribe. Joseph is the patriarch of 2 tribes. They just aren't named after him, they're named after his 2 sons. So that's what we have here. The only other couple notes that I'm going to give you before we close today. So mandrakes, this is a weird interaction they have where she's pimping out her husband to his other wife. Mandrakes were thought to induce fertility. So that's what, there's more symbolic meaning to that than just, oh, you found something in the field and I want it. That was the thought behind it. And then Dinah, who is the only sister mentioned here, she is the source of some not insignificant problems later. And when we get to Genesis 34, we're going to talk about Dinah And it's not necessarily what Dina does, it's just she is kind of the flashpoint for a much bigger series of events. So once we get to Genesis 34, we're going to talk about Dina. Okay? Any questions on that? Not that you guys are actively naming children anymore, but this is actually pretty, and we talked about this with Jacob. Check what your kid's name means and tell your kids or your friends' kids this. Check what their name means before you commit to it. Okay? Like honor, that's not a bad one, but if you are, named wages and someone they end up working minimum wage for the rest of their lives, and like, well, I mean, not saying names are magic, but all I know is I've met 2 kids named Maverick, and they were both wild.
Yeah. You have to teach us certain names you move to.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have anything. Well, we have a couple rules for our kids' names. First name has to be from the Old Testament, because the first 2 were from the Old Testament. And the middle name has to be from the New Testament. And they have to be the same number of syllables. That's a Chris rule. And then they have to, like, the names meaning has to be something, well, not just something good, something that talks about the strength of their faith. Like it's focused on, because ultimately that's what we want for our kids. So both Ezekiel and Isaiah are some permutation of my strength is in God, or God is faithful, or something. Like that's the theme of the names. So those are our rules. They're not for everyone, because there are only so many names that fit all those requirements, but those are ours. All right, next week we will pick up where I thought we were picking up, at Genesis 30, verse 25. And until then, we'll pray and go into our weeks. Actually, hold on, I was incorrect. Next week we will not. I'm glad I remembered this. Next week is a circuit meeting, so there will be no Thursday morning Bible class. March 19th, there's a circuit meeting. So, oh hey Megan, you missed Bible class.
Oh, how about, you're gonna help.
No, well, I guess that's fair. All right, let's pray and go our merry ways. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your word. We ask that you would bring peace and straightforwardness to our families. Give us more peace than Jacob had. Bless us as we go into our weeks, that we would witness to our families, to the community we live in, and that to everyone we know, we would reflect you and your love for them. Bring us all together again soon. Focus us on your word and on your Son. It's in his name we pray. Amen.